Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
What they did to the lives of people, they destroyed people. They sent people to jail who did nothing wrong.
All right, just to be very clear, there's no evidence of what you're saying. But let me ask you about Todd Blanche. Let me ask you about Todd Blanche.
Listen to me.
Let's talk
There's
about Todd Blanche.
There's tremendous evidence. There's nothing but evidence.
The
election was rigged. It was a dirty election. And it's happening again right now in California.
Presented evidence.
It's happening right now in California. Right now, it's look at what's happening in California.
To that?
It's
the
4
Republicans
days.
are doing well in
California. No, they're not. They're dropping fast because it's a rigged election. Let me tell you, it's 4 days, and they aren't even close to coming up with it. You know why they're doing that? Because they're cheating on the election.
Do you have evidence to support
all
that?
I have to do is look. All I have to do is look.
That's not evidence.
And I listen to people, and let's see what happens.
But, sir, that's not evidence.
Do you think it's appropriate?
That's how they count the votes in California.
Do you think it's appropriate that they have an election, and 5 days later they're nowhere close to picking a winner?
State and local officials acknowledge they are slow. They're urging.
No, they're crooked.
They're urging the votes to be counted quickly. That's how they vote in California.
They're crooked, just like you're crooked. Your press is crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked.
To be fair, I'm not crooked, but let's
Well, you play right into their hands.
Let's continue.
You're either crooked or you're stupid. You play right into their hands with this trap. You know that these elections are rigged. Your network knows that they're rigged. You know that I won an election in a landslide, and I got 94% bad press.
But, Mr. President,
you know why I got that? Because you have no credibility.
But you've never presented evidence that it was rigged. Let's keep talking about. I want to talk about Todd Blanche.
You have more evidence. There's more evidence than ever presented.
Let's talk
about your elections in this country. We're like a third world country. Your elections are crooked, and you're crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked, and so is ABC and CBS and CNN.
But, Mr. President,
you're one-sided crooked networks. Right. Let's call it quits because I've had enough. Thank you, darling. Have a good time.
Mr. President, let's please. I traveled all the way to Wisconsin.
I've sat in the rain with you.
I know.
I've sat in the rain with you for an hour, on and off in the rain, and I've given you enough time. You ought to straighten out your press because you know what? A country can never be great with a dishonest
press. Listen, we traveled all the way to Wisconsin for this interview.
So let me be clear about why President Trump is so upset. There's not a legitimate election in the United States. They're not legitimate. None of them are legitimate. None. President Trump knows it. The ODNI report proves it. Kristen Welker, Kristen Welker, who was just on there, tied to the CIA. You know what else is tied to the CIA? Every social media platform, every agency, every news outlet, they're all embedded in this group. And you'd say, oh, Joe, the grand conspiracy. Do you think that it's a conspiracy? Is it a conspiracy that every one of our states is degraded almost into oblivion? That our elected leaders are dumber than rocks? They're stupid. They're not smart people. Where the leadership can't even pass California, you can't even count ballots in one day. We were able to do it perfectly up till 2020. And then all of a sudden, nope, we have to count more ballots. We have to find more ballots. The entire system is rigged. And the evidence is overwhelming. The 4 reports that came out of Mesa County, the audit, there was an absolute circus in Maricopa County. And the media, here's what I want you to understand. The media does not want you. They do not want you to see the truth. They use the same dog whistles over and over and over and over again. There's nothing to see here. Conspiracy theories, that's the misinformation, disinformation. They use dog whistles because they have nothing. But let me just tell you something. If they were even remotely curious, which they're not, their go-to is there's nothing wrong. And over the last 20 years, how many lives have been lost because illegals come across the border? Entitlements are given to non-government agencies and pseudo-government agencies, and then we're told, sit down, slave, or we'll sue you for defamation. The entire system is in any real world environment, it wouldn't be able to exist. People say, Joe, you get hot about this. Man, it's like we're raped. I had to respond. I had to respond to the interview that President Trump put up. I said, breaking. Trump abruptly walks off the interview after CIA liar Kristen Welker continues charade that elections are legitimate. President Trump is losing his patience with the likes of Kristen Welker from Meet the Press. Fun fact, Kristen Welker is deeply associated with the CIA. The curious part about this is we all know it, but they walk right past it. The elections are fraudulent, all of them. President Trump is tired, as we all are, with the gaslighting and lies from the radical left who have used the system to steal tax dollars, set up webs of NGOs and pseudo-government organizations that steal our voice and rob us blind, and appoint crooked, rotted judges and leaders who have eroded our communities, stolen our children's future, and stuffed their fat faces with entitlements. Everyone knows the elections are stolen. The evidence is overwhelming, and the sooner the lever is pulled to right the ship, the better. That's what I had to say. But, they want to have 95% bad press against President Trump. And the people in his circle are not helping him. They're not helping him. It's too deep. And frankly, when you get to that level, you just are surrounded by a bunch of dweebs and retards that have no ability to get things across the finish line. I have a suggestion for you, Mr. President. I have a suggestion. We grab 10 experts, people, we get them in a room. We brief you and we create a Q&A, an FAQ. And every time you walk in front of these clowns, you hand it to them. And they say, let's read through this. Let's read through these facts. And you make them disprove the facts. You make them go, oh, that was debunked. So you can say, all right, let's do it. Because here's what's going to happen. They're going to say, let's move past it. Let's move on. Let's move on. Because they don't want to talk about it. They want to dismiss it. And it's the same group of just diabolical, just disgusting people that run it. I need to show you something because the Spencer Pratt deal is exactly why. And by the way, you can't actually say this is how they're stealing the election because the ball moves, because you're dealing with computers. You're dealing with fraudulent ballots. I could take 100 ballots, put it through a machine. It will count all the ballots. It doesn't validate the ballot. Once the ballot hits the system, there's no validation. There's no validation it's a real ballot. They're just saying it's a real ballot. No, there's not another security system out there for any program that is built like this. None. This wouldn't pass a kindergarten test on whether or not those are your parents and they could pick you up. I mean, it's absurd, the election system that's in place and the holes that are in it. It's absurd. We debate the ridiculous. They keep us in this place of chaos. It's simple. Throw the shit out. President Trump had this to say. And then play it.
By about 3,000 votes into that critical second place spot. If Rahman holds on to her lead, she'll advance to the runoff election against Mayor Karen Bass in the fall. Now, before the ballot dump yesterday, Spencer Pratt posted in part, writing, "We've got all the way till July 6th to keep counting. They're not the only ones who know where to find votes." Now, moments after the new numbers came in, Mayor Karen Bass's campaign released a statement attacking Rahman and labeling Rahman her general election opponent. Senate, seemingly ruling out a Pratt comeback. A Bass spokesperson writing, "We look forward to winning a contest against an opponent who allows encampments near schools and fights against hiring more cops, yet is MIA on saving Hollywood jobs and fighting back when ICE invades LA." Now, on Friday, we interacted with an assistant U.S. attorney inside the ballot counting facility here. The DOJ says he was observing, and the first assistant U.S. attorney in LA, Bill Asaley, says California has refused to give the federal government its voter rolls and allows first-time voters to use IDs like gym and debit cards. Asaley also writes, California allows third parties to collect and turn in ballots on voters' behalf, a practice known as ballot harvesting with few restrictions. This makes it difficult to track who actually received, completed, and submitted each ballot. Now, Asaley says there are ongoing voter fraud investigations here in Southern California. He points to a recent woman who was arrested for allegedly paying people on Skid Row to register to vote. Bill, Dana.
Matt Finn, thank you. Nice.
I listen to this and I go, how? How? How is it that people get on the news and they act as if this is just no big deal? And there are active investigations into voter fraud because they're in on it. It's one slanted going towards them. President Trump is doing everything he can to fight back, but he's got Thune that won't pass the SAVE Act. He's got all sorts of people that, frankly, are standing in the way of progress. The American people are just slaves. There's no hope for this country. There's no hope for this country. How do you have hope for a country when we could stare at it and go, this is a problem? Pratt's up by 7%. And Karen Bass declares, after he's still ahead, that she's going to be going after Rahman, another socialist communist. The stupidity that we have right now is it's off the charts. And normal people are losing their mind, or losing their patience, they're losing their mind and patience. Because what are we really looking at? You can use a gym membership card in order to vote. That's not serious people. This is not serious people. This is the most sacred thing that we have as Americans. And they've made an absolute circus of it. And President Trump is just beside himself trying to figure out, well, how is this? U.S. attorney walks in and is like, oh, they won't give me the access to the voter rolls, so we'll just sit on it. Just press the red button. Just insurrection act the whole thing, bring in and just say, listen, we're not doing this anymore. We're not doing it anymore. The election systems will be free and fair. And you want to know, if we did that, there wouldn't be a radical leftist in any position. Now, I want to tell you that when I put the post up about President Trump walking away from Meet the Press for being crooked, because they are crooked. They're not just crooked. They're disgustingly crooked, and they smile and act, kind of like Eric Coomer when he runs into buildings. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Sociopathic. They say, you haven't presented any evidence, when he has presented evidence. And she's a liar. And the evidence continues to be presented over and over and over again. And good people like John Eastman get disbarred. I mean, we're really close to the hot tenders. And I want to show you this. This is mail-ins arriving before Election Day. This is mail-ins arriving before Election Day. Bass 38%, Pratt 27%, Rahman 20%. Mail-ins arriving after Election Day. Rahman 37%, Bass 34%, Pratt 19%. Because that's reality, right? I mean, people want to live they want to live in LA when there's people dying on the streets and people becoming victims. I was in LA a couple months ago. I asked them if they supported anything, and they're like, no. I just walked up and asked over and over and over, just kept asking them. Walked in a circle. Must have asked 100 people. And they're like, yeah, nobody trusts this woman. Nobody. But she gets 34%. Just random people. Like the random 100, not one person said that Karen Bass was their pick. Not one person. 100 people. At least 100 people. It became a game. Not one. But we're supposed to believe that between the communists and Karen Bass, the person responsible for a large part of the fires that happened that wiped out knew about it beforehand, had its secret handshake conversations. We're supposed to believe that somewhere along the line, 34% voted for Baz. It's not real. They're not real elections. If bots can vote, then yeah, that'd be it. But when I put up that post on social media, I got attacked by bots. There's like 150 of them. And I went and checked every one of the accounts as I'm looking at it, having to delete it and block it, delete it and block it. 100% of them were like 38,000 posts, 3 posts over the last 20 years. Not joking. So you got bot farms that basically are attacking us, acting like people. And we sit back and we literally put up with it. And the people that are in tech know, and the people that aren't, they're like, well, it must be true. That leads into this post that I put over the weekend. At this point, we are not fighting the elections to be free and fair anymore. As much we are fighting to free ourselves from being slaves and rape victims. Instead of being actually raped, although some are, and the rod judiciary lets them out to victimize others, we are raped of our dignity, our hard-earned money, and opportunities for our children and some semblance of normality. They replace science with furries and pedophiles and tell us that genders are a construct. Normal people know it's nonsense, but because we do not have free and fair elections, we are in fact slaves being raped with leaders who are feckless to act. The mores of society are literally being guided by deviance and evil. They dare us to do anything and hold us hostage with, they call for violence, when they literally perpetrate violence on our good people and spit in the faces of all that is good. That's what I think. I think it's not that I think it's not that complicated. The leaders of our country on both sides are just trash. Trump says it how it is, and the secret handshakes, and it's complicated. We just have to make sure that we get it right. It actually just code word for demoralize and destroy as they bleed them dry and steal their children. They think you are stupid as you hand over 56 cents of your hard-earned pay and allow them to take from you everything with no voice. The country needs a Caesar moment. Mr. Trump, President Trump. We are living in a country largely run by mental midgets and retards. Everyone can see it and yet nothing. California elections look exactly as the investigations show. There is nothing to see here. It's a joke that anyone with a brain can see. How about we get to the Band-Aid ripping off part? We did it in Iran. Why can't we seem to do it in our own nation? The American people feel spit on and disrespected. Sooner or later, the bow is going to break if we do not do something. Or maybe that is the point. That's my point. And then this morning, and we have Baz on that's going to join us, and I'm sure he's going to be fire about what we're talking about right now. Because I've got some stuff I need to talk to him about. Kash Patel got on the news and said, we caught 3,400, we've arrested 3,400 pedophiles and people's sexual deviants. A report comes out, 3.5 million, 2.5 million reports of child abuse or child sexual abuse and trafficking, and they got 3,400 because they were on tour side. If they wanted to, they could shut it all down in a minute. They don't want to, just like fixing the elections. They don't want it. They make opportunity in that chaos. So this morning I got a call from a guy named Elliot that owns jiu-jitsu gyms out there. And I donated $20,000 to his basketball camps. And he hadn't gotten the check, and so I sent him a text on Friday saying, you know, hey, just check on that, you need to check on that check. So this morning I got a phone call, pick up the phone, I was like, hey, he goes, I'm gonna make this call short. I said, okay. And he's like, you're an anti-Semite, my family was in whatever it was. And like a retard that he is, I was like, oh, so you think I'm an anti-Semite? He's like, yeah, you called for the synagogue of Satan. And I go, well, explain it to me. He's like, I don't want to explain it to you, like the retard that he is. I'll call him a retard. He does work with one of the companies that I have, right? And so he keeps going. And he's like, yeah, and we're going to fire you at the company. And I was like, okay. And he goes, and if I get that check, I'm going to tear it up. I thought about it for a minute, and I was like, good. because I don't want to give money to a piece of shit anyway. I don't want to give money to someone who thinks Kyle Clark is credible. I don't want to give money to someone who thinks it's okay to victimize people in our state, like Polis and Weiser and Jenna Griswold have. I don't want to support a business, and he doesn't seem to understand the amount of support that I have in the state of Colorado. And when you come at me, I mean, I pray to God he actually sees this. When you come at me, you think you're so tough, right? You're not. You're not. The dog whistles don't work, though. The dog whistles don't work for me. Like, I don't care what you call me. It started with racist and homophobe, and now it's anti-Semite, right? You're not of the tribe anymore, Joe. You're not allowed to claim that anymore because you can't call out evil people that hide behind good Jews. You can't do that. You're not allowed to. No. We get to hide behind him. Polis gets to do what he does and sign legislation that allows us to kill a baby after it's born. That happened. Or to strip you of your Second Amendment rights, or make it illegal for you to parent your children, or grooming to happen in schools, or pedophiles to rape little children. As long as you didn't do it more than 3 times on one child, you're safe. You won't go to prison. Or allow people to change their genders, therefore changing their name so they can escape being a sexual deviant or predator. Yeah, so I shouldn't call that person a synagogue of Satan individual. I shouldn't call for the amount of treason that's been committed against the United States by people that were never elected, were selected, that put Tina Peters in jail for 9.5 years. I shouldn't call them the evil pieces of trash that they are. Now, see, this is where we get into the not serious people part. And see, I get to say it out loud. I get to say it all. I could care less what you or anybody else thinks of me. I don't care. I'm going to speak the truth because I'm tired of watching my brothers and sisters get victimized. I'm tired of us going over and killing people indiscriminately overseas too. I'm tired of a lot of things. And we could solve a lot of it really easily if we were in control of our own country. But we are not even at the wheel. No, we're not at the wheel. We got an evil cartel that can say whatever they want, act with impunity, and explain away all the atrocities and the demonic stuff that they've done to us in our community. And then you got to tell me that I'm not allowed to call them, I'm not allowed to use the Bible to go after them. You're more offended by the fact I use the F word than you are about the fact that I'm sitting here fighting, and all I do is keep taking arrows while you sit on the sideline and say, oh yeah, Kyle Clark says that it's true, so it must be true. So I had to put this post up, and then I'll bring in Baz. And I was fired up before I got here, just so you know. Way fired up. Just another one of the radical leftist anti-white demonic lies to be told. Just got a call stating I'm anti-Semitic by a guy I thought I respected. Instead of calling me up and working the problem, he acted like the high school mental midget that allows for others to dictate the character of their adversaries. For the record, calling demonic Jews who hide behind others members of the synagogue of Satan is not anti-Semitic. It's true. Atheist Jews who do harm and evil lie at every turn and destroy our society while standing as a cartel to hurt others should not be allowed to hide behind my Jewish brothers and sisters. The weak-minded fools who stand on the side of evil. People tell me I am anti-Semitic. Yeah, piss off. There's no academic honesty or free thought, just a media apparatus and weak-minded fools who allow the scarlet letter to be pinned on anyone that seems it is for what, or sees it for what it really is. Speak truth, and the apparatus of evil will use the same tired dog whistles we have all been subjected to for decades. Sean Strickland criticized Netanyahu and was disinvited to the White House. That by itself shows you we do not live in a free country. We live in a country captured by a group of people that see us as slaves. Oh, how history repeats itself. And for the so-called Christians out there, Revelations 2:9 states, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of which say they are Jews, and they are not, but they are the synagogue of Satan. He's talking to the Sumerian people. People said that these are Christians before. They weren't Christians. We'll talk about Smyrna. Let's talk about this. Revelation 3:9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews, and they are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Now, you can word salad all you want and talk about how Google said Jesus was talking to the early Christians in Smyrna, yet there was no Christians. There were pagans and there were Jews. He was talking about evil and hides behind those who are good. In the context, he's talking about the untouchables. Is that not what we face today? Is not the book of Revelations the book of prophecy? Are you then telling me I cannot read or call out evil when it stands behind good people? Is it not an admission that they are evil and are in fact using Jews to hide them from any other criticism while they commit heinous crimes, acts? Yeah, I do not care what Kyle Antifa Clark says or the ADL that is 100% filled with the same radical evil midgets. I talk about with Polis, Wiener Weiser, and Jenna Griswold, if you commit treason for all the mental midgets in the back of the room, the penalty is death. Calling for the death penalty against those who commit treason is not a call for violence. It is a call for accountability. That's right, though. Goyams are the slaves. Our world is in trouble not because we cannot fix it, but because we are captured by dog whistles and rhetoric that dismisses truth like it does not exist. I will not apologize for calling evil evil, and I certainly will not back down from biblical truth. Now let me see the gymnastics that will have to be done to say what I wrote is not true. And it looks like a couple thousand people saw it and on Facebook, and they kept it off of X, of course. Why would social platforms stop me from saying that? You could disagree with me. You can argue it. You can have a conversation about it. Why pick me? Why am I their guy? It's something to talk about. We're going to talk about that with Baz, who was a child rescuer and former CIA Special Operations Officer. He was with the CIA. Maybe we could talk to him about the fact that they're out of control. But he actually knows that because, frankly, the CIA is deeply involved in child trafficking. So with that said, Baz, welcome to the show. Sorry, you're muted, brother.
There we go. Thank you for having me. It's good to see you guys.
It's good to see you. I'm a little hot today.
It's an understatement. Yeah, you know, this issue, I think when I'm listening and reading between the lines, and if everybody else, if they were smart enough to read between the lines, it would boil down to one thing, which you're talking about, and it's called accountability. And that's something we're lacking in the nation. You know, we live in a society where we think because we discover something, something's being done to correct it. And in fact, we haven't seen that in a lot of years. You know, so I always try to look for a solution, as you do and other people do as well. And when I'm addressing this issue, I realize that a solution was already created way back in the 1700s with our founding fathers, when they were being enslaved, when they were being overtaxed, when they were being cheated and lied to, and when everything the British Empire wanted to do to destroy the 13 colonies and what would become of them after that, they did one thing: they rose up. Now, when people hear that, I go, "Well, are you advocating for violence?" Well, no, I'm saying an example was set, and that example was applied. And guess what? We have our freedom today. And for a while, we did have free and fair elections. Now we don't, and we know that. And I agree 100% with you. Even in the state of Colorado, when I first moved out here, I was so suspicious of the elections. You know, when I look around at our state here, and I would say, and I don't know if this percentage is correct, but as I've made my way around this great state, I think I can calculate that maybe close to 78% are good patriots, good Republicans, and yet we still are under the burden of Democrats like Polis and those cronies up there because these elections are rigged. Now, people say, well, how do you know that? Show proof. Well, if we just take a moment and look at all the evidence that was presented for the rigged elections for the presidency, and that's all true, and look at Georgia and look at Arizona and look all across America, and look at, you know, the great company Dominion that was based in Colorado that participated in that fraud, and now they're nowhere to be found, of course. You know, it brings you back to a really common sense rancher's opinion. If it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, it's probably a duck. So,
well, I mean, look, but
yeah.
Let me just put a basic truth in front of you. It was Smartmatic. Smartmatic bought Sequoia Voting Systems. Sequoia Voting Systems, not even a year later, was said, nope, you can't actually, you have to divest from Smartmatic. It had to be sold. It sold to Dominion a couple years later under the guise of massive issues that were happening, national security issues, right? That we're having. CFIUS said you got to get rid of it. Of course, the trash heap Coomer lied about it. Said, oh, there's never a problem. Fast forward, Dominion gets into some heat. They sue because a pseudo government agency doing a public good. They do elections for the country, and as voters, we're not allowed to call them out for their fraud, doing a public good, because it might hurt their feelings. So then they sell to Liberty Vote. Liberty Vote does the same thing that Dominion did. And then the government covers up for them. And we sit here and go, every time that there's heat, they're allowed to just squirm out of it. And the American people suffer for it, and people get sued for it, people lose their livelihoods for it, and their reputations, because the apparatus of the media, along with the legal apparatus that is rotted to the core, just takes from people what is never theirs to take.
Yeah. Well, coming out as an former agency officer, working for an organization that rigged elections all across the world for many years, I know what it smells like. I will tell you that I got a phone call from a retired agency guy that prior to the presidential elections being rigged against President Trump, he called me up. This was 2 weeks prior to that outcome and said, I'm going to tell you right now that the system that's being used is the same system we used in the agency with country X to overthrow their government. Now, I know this guy. He has no reason other than the fact he's got a great heart. And, well, it wasn't Mongolia, but it was south of us. And it could have been Mongolia, too. But, when you study...
Well, is he talking about Venezuela or Brazil before? I mean, I could name any number of countries down there.
That we've had our hand in. Yeah. And generally speaking, if we look at the earlier histories of the agency, particularly during Bill Casey's time and stuff like that, it was very pro-democratic. And I don't mean Democratic Party. I'm talking about, pro-democracy is what I should say. And a lot of the things that they had their hands in was to prevent communism from spreading all around the world. Interesting enough, after Casey's departure, and particularly when Obama came in into the presidency, they put their socialist loyalists 4 layers deep in the agency and a lot of other 3-letter organizations. And I know for a fact, by talking to people still inside, it's one heck of a mess trying to clean all that up. So they battle even within their own organizations to keep the ship upright. So as in any organization, you're going to have good people and you're going to have bad people. The sad thing about the agency is that a lot of the best people that love this country got so fed up with it that they started retiring or late. They left. They just left. So, when you look at things that happen, like how could the agency walk into Tulsi Gabbard's office as the head of DNI and just take those 40 boxes back? It's a good question. How could they? I mean, they basically
why is it that President Trump didn't even know about it? Like somebody asked
all
him
of that.
It. He's like, what?
That's
Wait,
right.
What?
Yeah. So, it is, we don't have, or it doesn't appear that we have enough good people in the right legal positions to bring about that accountability. So with that said, I would encourage the American people to not stand by and wait for that to happen, because you're right. President Trump's got his hands full. I'm telling you what, look, General Flynn, Mike Flynn's been walking around this nation for years talking about free and fair elections, and trying to get people aware of how they could be cheated out of their freedom and be put in slavery. And so I encourage people, I think we're getting close to this point, and I'm encouraging all Americans, to be honest with you, to do the right thing. Now, that may sound a little ambiguous, but it's like, well, what's the right thing? Well, if you're doing something against my family and me to kill me off in this nation, take my freedoms away, take my Second Amendment rights away, take more of my hard-earned money away, steal my land, whatever it may be. Anything and everything you do to prevent that is considered self-defense. That's what it is, it's self-defense. So to what degree do you act, or to what degree do you take actions, the correct actions, to prevent yourself from being destroyed and your family being destroyed? And on the greatest degree, what do you do to protect your nation from being destroyed? You know, you're right. You're right. When you look at things like LA, communists, why are we even allowing communists and socialists to even be in positions of power? You know, why are they not being arrested? It goes against everything our Constitution stands for. You know, look at Mondami in New York. How was he leveled? And I think that's the question, and that's the question that most Americans are asking, and why they're getting frustrated, and they're saying, how can this keep happening? How can this keep happening? So I'm gonna tell the American people this. It's happening because you are allowing it to happen. I would love to blame the bad guys.
But
yeah.
Listen, let me just play devil's advocate for you.
Sure, go for it.
You know, I'm no stranger to do the right thing.
Of course.
Like I'm not, I just don't care. And I say that's not true. I care so much that I won't let it influence my ability to stand up against evil, right? I guess that's probably a better way. Somebody told me, Joe, you care too much. But they see what has been done to me. They see what's been done to President Trump. They see what's been done to Mayor Giuliani. They see what's been done to people who have stood up, and they're like, yeah, I don't want any part of that. Because they also see that the people that are taking the punches, nobody else is rallying around. It should happen. It should happen. It should have the rally calls done. Joe's standing up. He's doing what he's the first one to dance. There should at least be 10 people on the dance floor by now. Right?
There should be, but I'll tell you something, Joe. When I study, and I love history, when I study and look back at our history, what I've learned is this. One man or one woman with courage is a majority. And if you're going to ever wait to have people rally around you to do the right thing,
yeah,
it'll never happen. You know, George Washington didn't wait. You know, there's a lot of other people that didn't wait. The question is, who's going to stand on the front line? The front line are the toughest warriors. And we were put here for such a time as this to be on the battle. And if you look behind you, look at all the people that enjoy their freedom by the sacrifice of others, all the people that spilt their blood, and they never even get in consideration. Take a look at Memorial Day. How many people go and visit those graves and say, thank you for my freedom? No, we don't see that. We see it with vets, and we see it with families and stuff like that. But most of America, they forget about it and everything. So here's what happens. When they take your freedom away, when you let the laws be changed, when you let evil people rule, don't come to patriots like us and be all pissed off and whining and crying. Because guess what, America? You're going to get what you deserve. That's it. And in the meantime, great patriots are going to stand up like you, Joe, and other people that we know, like Pete Chambers down in Texas and all these other people. And we're going to speak the truth, and we're going to stand up, and we're going to encourage people to do the right thing. And somewhere down the line, if it gets really, really bad, we're going to lead the fight. And we know that. And we don't care, and we're not afraid, because there were people that went before us, our ancestors and our founding fathers, that fought for this freedom in this country. That's the type of people we are, and we will never be quiet about it. Look at Tina Peters. You know, I sat back, and I will tell you, I actually had conversations over the time she was in prison with people all around America, and would hear conversations from good patriots that actually talked about breaking her out of jail and doing what they said was the right thing. Now, interesting enough, and thank God, I think President Trump had a lot to do with this. She's out, but she was, in my opinion, based on the evidence that I've seen, she was illegally incarcerated for something that she's discovered, which was totally evil. And that was during all those.
They're still talking about it, Bazzel.
And they're still
using it as their beating stick. They're doing the same thing to her they did to me. They never stop. The lie just keeps. And who am I going to go? Who am I going to sue? How am I going to sue with a Colorado court?
Well, Joe, this is what I'm talking about. See, why would you want to sue in a court that is evil to begin with or unjust and not going to do that? So when do we get our act together and say, wait a minute, A doesn't work, B doesn't work, and C doesn't work. We're going to do D. And what is D going to be?
To the purge, because I'm going to tell you right now.
I got to tell you what. I think that the more I hear discussions and the more rallies I go to and the more people I talk to and the more people that email me about this stuff, nothing will surprise me if all of a sudden people start taking physical action against evil, in whatever form it is. I think they've lost their faith in what's supposed to be a good judicial system. I wish it was, and it does work. Well, it works on some smaller levels when you have honest people running it. But overall, it doesn't. It's always questionable.
I have a sitting judge in Colorado.
Yeah.
Who came forward, had all this courage, right? Still on the bench, came forward.
Yeah.
And said, I need to tell you all this stuff, and gave me a list of things. And I was like, I need to put you on video. I can protect you, your voice. And so this person went through and did a bunch of research, and it got so hot at the court as people were talking about it at the courthouse, talking about what I'm talking about with this person, that it made this person so uncomfortable just at the thought that if they were to uncover who it was, what the consequence would be. That this person was like, Joe, I can't do it. And we were walking through. They came into my office. We sat down. We had it all mapped out. And I got two other judges that used to be judges. One was a magistrate, actually. One was a judge. They came forward also. And they're like, yeah, well, so I had to go back to them and say, well, this person doesn't want to do it right now. So it's not the right time. How many times have you heard that, by the way? It's not, I have courage. Oh, it's not the right time. And it could have broken open. I mean, you're talking about law clerks that are out talking to other law clerks that are getting people off on massive crimes. It's a criminal cartel.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it kind of ranks what you're saying ranks right up there when, and I still to this day I haven't figured out why Pam said this when she said if we release all the names on the Epstein files, the entire government could collapse, or words to that effect. And I'm like, well, then let it collapse.
Let it collapse.
It's not going to fall. We got people that'll take bad people's places, but yet that was a statement that was made as if it was to scare the American people, and people go, oh my gosh, we can't have the government fall. Oh, well, okay, we better sacrifice ourselves and our morals and all the traffic victims and what's morally right and not release those names. Okay.
But the fact that she said it and people walked past that and didn't pick up on it. Yeah. And it didn't become a massive story, right? You're talking about the Watergate moment, right? It's bigger than Watergate. And nobody did anything with it.
I know. Yeah. Well, that much to President Trump's point there about the media. Look, he's dealt with the media long enough. I agree 100% with him when he's talking about the different networks and stuff. The media at one time was supposed to be fair and it was supposed to be an information resource for Americans to know what's going on, and it's not. It's propaganda now. I tell you what, the outside of Fox that I do listen to, and I listen to the other ones just to cross-reference stuff and stuff like that. The only person that I know for a fact, because I've known her since she was 19 years old, that does her research and finds the evidence and speaks the truth is Laura Logan. That's it.
100%.
And all of America.
She's not afraid of the truth, that she gave up her job as a result of it.
She did.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I met Laura when she was 19 years old. I was in Angola in the war there. We were supporting UNITA with Jonas Savimbi, and she gets off of a Puma helicopter in the middle of the war zone, and we're like, who's this kid? What's she doing here? So she fears nothing. And Yeah, yeah. And even if I make a statement, as long as she's known me and we're great friends, she will still look at me and go, "So how do you know that's true? Give me the facts. Show me the evidence. Oh, by the way, how did you get that evidence?" I mean, she'll just grill you. So I've come to learn that if she says something, it's true. And so all the things that President Trump was talking about, she's talked about. She showed evidence, so she's been down that road. So I'll just say, Trump will say something and I'll just sit with Laura and cross-reference it and go, she's saying the same thing Trump said. She must know. And she'll pull out stuff and go, here's why he's saying that, so if I, like any of us and the little bit of wisdom we have, we don't believe everything, but we certainly research it to find the truth. And if it's true, it's true. And very much like you were saying, Joe, and what's so ironic with society is that we just went through this whole thing with COVID and got slammed against the wall by all the left side saying it's not true, it's conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. It didn't turn out to be a conspiracy. And something else didn't turn out to be a conspiracy. And this is not a conspiracy either. Elections are rigged.
So that leads me to, everybody's like, here's the apple and orange scenario. They're like, well, where's your proof? And I'm like, all right, where do you want me to start? And you start talking about it, like, just show me the proof. And I'm thinking to myself, you're a retard. You're talking about 150 million votes, and you don't get to the solution of here's the proof in a 5-minute conversation. It's not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
But if you want to look at forensically the information, scientifically, and then look at the ballots themselves and start weighing all the things that were wrong, then we can get to the truth. It's easy. Right? We can get to the facts, right? But when you have judges that are retarded, can't even use an iPhone, I mean, they're technologically deficient, and you have an entire society that is, frankly, on the lower spectrum IQ-wise, 90% of the people have under 100 IQ, right? Then you're not going to be able to get to those facts without dumbing it down and going through this process. But that leads me to Kash Patel. He had this huge announcement. We call it 3,400 sex abuse victims or perpetrators. Baz, how many are there a year?
Oh my gosh. Those are just the ones he's saying. Well, I'd like him to define what caught meant. Number one, did he just discover them? And the second question I would have is like, if there's 3,400, what are you doing with them? Could we see the arrest? And are they going to go to prison? And the accountability once again. I'm beyond this point of just taking stats or numbers and saying, oh, that's good, that's good. If there's no accountability to it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to us. So I hope they're doing a good job. And I do know that they have, between them and HSI, they have the ability to certainly go find out who's doing what. But 3,400 is nothing compared to probably, and this is a guess, Joe, over millions that are still doing the same thing. They're still abusing kids. They're still on tour, whatever it may be. I mean, yeah. But they're getting there. They're getting there, and I'm happy for that. But at the same time, as someone who's in the trenches, I want to know what's happening to them. Like when somebody tells me, hey, we've rescued 3,000 kids. Okay, great. I'm so happy. What did you do with them? Where are they? Are they being re-trafficked? Are they being put in CPS? Are they being deported because they were UACs? These are the questions that the American people are asking, because you can tell me whatever you want to tell me, but until I see the finished product, until I see the end results, it doesn't mean anything to me. I've been doing this too long,
So I want to play this video for you, and this is sex abuse numbers by the numbers, and get your thoughts on it. Let's go ahead and play it.
Let me give you the numbers from last year. Not 5 years ago, not a decade ago, last year. In 2025, the National Tip Line received 21.3 million reports of child sexual exploitation. Those reports contain 61.8 million videos, images, and files. 61 million. But here's the number I can't get out of my head. Reports of online enticement, that's where an adult is contacting a child for sexual purposes, hit 1.4 million. That's a 156% increase in a single year. It more than doubled in 12 months. And it gets worse. Reports of child sex trafficking went up 323% from the year before. Now here's what those numbers don't tell you. Behind every single one of them is a child, a real kid with a name, with a bedroom, with parents who maybe have no idea. I was a number once too, a case and a statistic in a system. And nobody behind those numbers ever asked me what was actually happening to me. Last year, the tip line flagged more than 53,000 reports as urgent. Children in imminent danger right now. 53,000 kids who needed someone to move immediately. These aren't just statistics. They're a roadmap of where we're failing. And every percentage point is a child waiting for someone to notice. And now, you know. Come join the fight.
Yeah, there's a lot of numbers that get thrown out there, Joe. I would, being the guy in the trenches for 34 years in this AO, I see a lot of numbers come out. I always ask the question, where the numbers come from? When we talk about the tip line, we look at the failure of the human trafficking system and its notification system now, which is being run by Compass Connections, which are falling on their sword.
The AOCRP or whatever.
Yeah,
so he got
okay.
the one from the national. It's a consolidated database, all 50 states, goes into it's almost you can almost tell by the day statistically what's happening. So
the challenge we have is Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
I think his stats are legit because I've seen him actually talk about stats before, and his story is just incredible. But he was a victim of the system.
So what we have is, in dealing with cases every single day, you're going to have some cases that are legit, and you're going to have cases that, unless you've researched and gone beyond a phone call, you don't know if it's true or not. That's the reality that we deal with every single day. We get whether it's somebody that's just a wacko, or whether it's just a call in and it's a desperate call for something else, or whether somebody is seeking some type of asylum or free handout or whatever it may be, or whether it's a kid that's really in trouble. You have to do all that before you just send that paperwork up to somebody like this organization to start spitting stuff out. And the problem we have is on the lower level, where I am in the trenches with NGOs and stuff like that, where these calls come into, not everybody that has an organization is qualified to know what the truth is.
You mean like Marsh's organization?
No, I don't know anything about his organization.
I had to do it.
I don't know.
The door was like wide open.
I haven't ever worked with his organization. I don't know much about
anybody
it.
Else, so there you go.
Well, I'm not going to comment about any of that. I'm not going to get in the middle of that stuff. But anyway, on this note here, is that so when we see the numbers, I think that while they are extraordinary and high, I think we have to always ask ourselves a question here in our country, and that is, what if it was just one kid? Would it matter as much? So for us in this work, and for working on 36 years rescuing children, I don't really care what the numbers are. I care about a couple things: saving children, whoever that child is, making sure it's number one, it's a real child alive that needs to be saved, and that you can do that, and making sure they are taken to a proper place of care so they can continue to grow, in a healthy way until they become adults. And then another thing I care about are the perpetrators and rolling them up. If we don't stop that, it's just going to continue at an extreme level. Because children have become such a commodity, and because everybody has their finger in the pie, it's grown immensely, and it's influenced other leaders of other countries. For example, most people don't know this, but recently, and 2 weeks ago, I was talking with an intel unit, and they said terrorism has three sources of income. Number one is child sex trafficking. Number two is drugs. And number three is illicit businesses. That's how they make their money. And so terrorism and cartels and evil people and people that probably don't give themselves a name, these are the ways they make money. And so anytime people are profiting off something, they're going to do everything they can to prevent people from disrupting their business model, directly or indirectly. So, for example, if you find fraudulent elections or corruption in the election process in Colorado, I can pretty much guarantee you from now almost 60 years of experience that you're going to find these other things involved as well. You're going to find child sex slavery. You're going to find somebody financing drugs, and you're going to find illicit businesses. In the state of Colorado and the state of anywhere in the United States, they kind of all go hand in hand.
How many children do you think are at risk in the United States? If you just round number, how many kids do you think are at risk of being sexually exploited or trafficked in the United States?
Every child in America is at risk of being exploited and trafficked.
Okay, so how many do you think are actively in that environment that you could snap your finger and save them?
You mean that have already been groomed or recruited and taken from their families, you mean?
Yes.
It's just a guess, 400,000 plus American kids, maybe more.
So 400,000.
It's a renewable resource. So the ones that get taken and don't live to be over 16, whatever, and they bury them someplace or throw them in the desert or whatever it may be, they're going to go get some other ones, and they'll recruit them, and they'll take them from their families, and they'll start using them as well. I will say this on a high note, there are some things that have started changing in America, and I've just noticed this about the last 2 months. Over the last 15 years, when I would be talking to law enforcement officials, I had to keep pointing out the fact that we had corruption within our law enforcement ranks. And I was the bad guy for a while. Now, I come from a law enforcement family. I mean, I have relatives who are FBI and local sheriffs and all that kind of stuff. So I know what I'm talking about. And what was taking place is that within the ranks of the law enforcement community, people were participating in child abuse, prostitution, child pornography online, whatever it may be, and everybody was covering up for everybody. Along comes Grady Judd down in Polk County, and he changes that game, and he starts holding people accountable within his own ranks and around the state, and he doesn't care who you are. He's going to go after you if you're abusing a child. And then other law enforcement agencies across America started getting on board. And now I'm seeing on a regular basis a lot of law enforcement officers that are being arrested by their own departments for child pornography, child abuse, seeing pastors, doctors, whatever it may be. So something has shifted over the course of the last 3 or 4 months in a good way. The question is, will it continue after 47 is out of the presidency?
Well, then that leads me to who's next, right? We look at you look at how many children that you have actively, successfully taken out of a situation, put them in a positive situation. Many times the scars are still there, and that familiarity with where they came from drives some of those children back into that same environment, right? So you can only save them for so long as there's an interest in keeping them saved.
Well, that's true, and the one thing, and it's a very difficult thing, is that you can't make decisions for people. You can save a child and try to put them in the right environment, but if they make a choice to go back, they go back. Just like, this is why we don't really deal a lot with adults in prostitution and trafficking. Our cutoff line is 18 years old and below, because we have a lot more control influencing them and getting their lives structured in a better direction. Whereas most adults, if they were groomed or recruited when they were 3 or 4, and they missed all that schooling and all that education and stuff, they don't know what they would do if they got out of the trafficking world. No one's helping them, so they choose to stay
in there since they were like 6, 7 years old.
Some been in since they were 1. It's crazy. You know, the one, I mean, we've run into cases where children were kidnapped and or sold by a parent into trafficking at 1 year old. You know, it's disgusting. You know, it is definitely Sodom and Gomorrah on the highest level here in America, and it's around the world. It's all around the world. But you know, we ask the question, what drives it? And two things drive it: evil. How do you hurt the heart of God? You go after children. That's one. And number two is profit, money. You know, God says in the Bible, money is the root, the love of money, excuse me, is the root of all evil. Not money, but the love of it. And there are people out there that love money so much they'd sell their grandmother down the river for a dollar. You know, that's the way this world is. And then sadly and disgustingly, much to what you're talking about, we have people in positions of influence, and I'm going to point this out. In Colorado, the Democrats who allow a pedophile to rape a child 3 times before they take action. And you talk about pissing me off. I don't mind saying it. Those Democrats need to be hung with a short rope from a tall tree. You know what? They are part of the problem. And they need to know that. This is, I mean, they themselves may be pedophiles. To allow that to happen, do not understand the damage that's done to an innocent soul in the state of Colorado or in the United States of America, and to allow it to continue, you should be shot. This is ridiculous. You know, I can tolerate a lot of stuff, but I don't tolerate stupidity and evil. And I'm going to tell you what, we got lawmakers here in Colorado that sit in Denver and they make decisions like that. And I mean, man, I tell you what.
Well, that legislation is signed off by the
guess who it's signed off by?
Polis.
Polis, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Himself.
So that's exactly right. So, you know, I don't mind expressing how I feel about that because it's true. And that's what should happen. And anybody who rapes a child should get the death penalty. Just like anybody that is treasonous towards this country, like in all the election fraud and that stuff, they should get the death penalty as well. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and Joe, correct me, I think it says that somewhere in our law.
If you don't like it, change it. If you don't like it, change it.
Yeah.
But we try to equate accountability with violence unless it's done against them, then it's considered violence, right? So they can do whatever they want and shoot Charlie Kirk and make some of these silly comments that they've made and get away with it. They feel like they're justified. That's how you know, by the way, we're in a slave state. Like we are in a state of perpetual enslavement right now. Yeah. This isn't a free society. What we're going through right now is not a free society.
No, it's not a free society. I tell you what, you know, when we talk about this stuff that heats us up, I pray with all my heart that no good thing comes to anybody that supports the pedophiles and what they do. You know, I hope bad things happen to them because I know from my career as a CIA officer, when bad things happen to bad people, justice gets served. So when it comes to where it is in the United States, when we're talking about this issue and bringing it right back home here to Colorado, I hope no good thing from this day forward comes for those Democrats that voted the way they voted and are protecting pedophiles. You know, I hope the worst things, I hope they're eaten by locusts. You know, I mean, it's just horrible. It's just horrible. You know,
I have a much better
I mean, there's worse things. Yeah. Yeah, of course. I figured you did. But, you know, standing on truth, you know, and I get that. Mainly, you know, traveling around the United States and all that we've seen and all the kids we've rescued and what I've seen in the innocence of America that deserves to be guarded so that no harm will come to any child in our state or in our country. And this is important, but they don't care about that because they're evil. And that's the God's honest truth. They are evil and they serve Satan. And that's their father, the father of lies. That's who they serve. Man, I could go on forever about that. But anyway, when I hear fathers, I remember the first time I had a dad who came to one of our training courses, and he pulled me aside later, and he goes, I have a better understanding of what happens with trafficking now, but he goes, I'm going to tell you right now. He goes, anybody that touches my kids, I'll kill them. And I don't care if I spend the rest of my life in prison. He goes, that's going to happen. And I'm going to send that message to everybody I see in my neighborhood. You don't touch my kids. That's the message that should be sent across America. You don't touch our kids. You touch our kids and you get caught, guess what? We're going to hang you. But that's not the way it is in the state of Colorado now.
Let me just tell you, so I need to tell you, it kind of is, though.
Is it?
Because there's guys like me. There's dads that have got together, and I simply asked the question, what are you going to do to protect your kids? And they're like, oh man, I would kill for my kids. I would die for my kids. I'm like, oh, but they're in public school, right? And they're like, yeah. I was like, you're not killing anybody. You don't even know what's happening in the school, or you wouldn't even put them in there, right? You're putting them in the middle of the lion's den and of the evil itself. I think that there's a swaying that's happening. And you had the dad that shot the guy in Oklahoma and then ran for sheriff. He shot the guy because and they just dismissed the charges against him.
Dismissed the charge. That was the right thing to do. That was the right thing to do.
But there's so many stories of wicked, evil people. I mean, you see the Carmelo Anthony deal down in Texas. He stabbed a kid right in the heart. 4 black kids literally testified that you're wrong. Like this Carmelo Anthony guy was just diabolical. He's trying to say that he was a good kid. He's not. He was terrible, right? So there's look, we are getting to that place where we are trying to separate the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah.
And our society is almost doing it for us. But the evil is taking away our ability to fight back because it's taking away simple things that we need in order to operate.
That's why, Joe, you don't let the evil see you coming when you hand out accountability.
Well, you and I need to talk then, because I got a whole lot of, I got like a jar of accountability. I want to see hung out.
You know, I think we've gotten to the point we want to announce everything, and it just needs to happen. And accountability comes in many forms. It comes in many forms. It's just the willingness to do it. And I think there are fewer people willing to hold bad and evil accountable than there are good. And it's funny, we were talking about this. I was talking to Sheriff's Department. We were running a case together on some pedophiles, actually, and a large ring. And one of the younger sheriff deputies actually said, he goes, how do you handle this? He goes, you've been doing this for so long. I went, well, I keep it legal. I don't cross the line. I said, what is in my head, it stays in my head. And I said, but as long as we have law, we have to abide the law. And he looked at me and he goes, our laws suck. He goes, every time I get a pedophile, I just want to strangle him. And I was like, well, I think I know how you feel. Yeah, exactly. So, even some of our law enforcement partners know how to do the right thing, and they're frustrated with it as well. So.
Well, I tell you what, we are in a really precarious place. And I feel like President Trump, when he was on Meet the Press, was finally he's basically pushing it out there, telling Todd Blanche, telling all of them, get to it. I want these people arrested. I want them arrested now. When he stood up and walked away from that deal, that was him saying, you know what, I'm sick of the lies, right? I'm sick of the lies being told. You're in the other side. You're people like, oh, there's nothing wrong. There's not a sex trafficking problem in our country. I hear that all the time too. Oh, Joe, it's overblown. I'm thinking to myself, overblown.
Wow. Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, come live in our world for a day. It's not overblown. It is right in your face. It's just we spend time. We care enough about it to be involved in it. All the other people that just want to criticize it, it's like, go find some woods to hide in or something, because all you're going to do is you just want to argue about something that you know nothing about. I always tell people, do your research. I don't get into heavy discussions. It's like, you do your homework, then you come back to me. I'll have this discussion with you. But with Trump, you're right. And you said something, Joe, I think, I hope the audience heard it. 47 is not surrounded by a lot of great people.
No,
and when we talk about things like we're going to have a representative oversee the elections, well, you got to ask yourself, what's he looking for? Or does he know what he's looking for? Or has he been trained? No, they just have someone stand there with a pad, and he doesn't even know he's. Yeah, that's it. And the same thing. We've got people. We have. I think within 47's inner circle, and I don't want to speak out of turn here because I don't want to have to face him and explain myself. But I think it's fair to say that even he knows, and I think that's some of his frustration, that there are people that he trusted, and he rewards people on loyalty. He's that kind of guy, from what I understand. But a lot of people are falling down in the ranks or falling on their sword and not doing the job they're supposed to do. And and he's got, I mean, look, people can criticize the president all day long. And I go, why don't you sit in his seat for one day and see the weight of the world that he has to handle? I think Rubio said one time that the president doesn't even sleep. And I believe that's probably true. So there's a lot more going on than just running this country, of course, in the world. But when you're surrounded by people that want to boondoggle every good thing that you're trying to do, and you ultimately are going to be the guy with mud on your face because of their actions, I think you got to get rid of them. And, Trump comes out of that whole "you're fired" background, which I think you should, and he does, and that takes timing in within itself as well. But the one thing that 47, I think, was not prepared to do, Joe, when it comes to all of this corruption, and it's all part of the same package, is, and God bless him, and he is probably the ultimate deal maker. I mean, he's probably the best of the best, I'd say, in our time. But the one thing he's up against that he's not prepared for is the clandestine service. And the deep state is run by members of the clandestine service. And the clandestine service has years and years and years of overthrowing governments, assassinating presidents, rigging elections, whatever it may be. And that clandestine service can be any three-letter agency that has its fingers on the intelligence button, so to speak. So when you look at things that Tulsi brought out, like John Brennan and Burns and Clapper and all the other people that are part of the deep state, I heard people laughing about that as well. But she's dead serious, and they are. And I've seen the evidence. And so these people, including Obama, are still disrupting what the president's trying to do in this country through hundreds of cutouts, front companies, money flowing that cannot be accounted for, payments to Antifa, to terrorist organizations, to cartel. Heck, I've told you, I came on your show one time, and I think I showed you a picture of Nancy Pelosi standing with a member of the cartel.
Yep.
It's like, and I pushed that up the ranks, and I haven't seen anything happen with that. Nothing, So we know it exists. And so I'm very careful when I hear the president make a decision to criticize his actions, because guess what? And I think anybody with common sense would do it the same way. If you're not in the room and you don't know what the discussion is, and you don't know all the facts, you should keep your mouth shut until you do know all the facts.
I agree.
And then you can say, okay, Mr. President, that's a great decision, or okay, that's not a great decision. And I've done that so many times, because in my old days in the good CIA, when it did exist, and there are still, as I said, there are still some good people there. There were things that we did in operations, and we were the only ones in the room. And unless you knew all the facts, you'd never know why we did it. It would look like something else. But it was the way it had to be done to protect the country or to protect the nation. I don't know if the agency is still driving its operations to protect the United States like it used to, as much as it has been politicized. And what's that word you were using one time? Not warfare, but anyway, it's just become a political organization that 100%. That does the bidding for a lot of influencers that could care less about the security of the United States. A lot of one world government people, actually. And Daddy Bush, you can blame him for that, because he was a one world order guy.
Well, and it's just carried itself down. We're seeing it manifest across the world right? We're seeing the degradation happen across the world because these people have put their tentacles into enough places with weak leadership because of stolen elections. And in large part, that comes back to the CIA or that clandestine operation, because not everyone in the CIA is in the know, but the CIA definitely isn't part of it, and they're definitely the ones that are heading it up. With whatever these groups are, whatever these 4 or 5 families or groups are that basically are said, look, we're going to destroy the world. And they have. They've done a very good job of destroying the world. Well, I got to tell you, I'm thankful for you coming on. Thank you for coming on. And how do people follow you? And how do people stay connected to your organization and support you?
Yeah, thanks, Joe. If you go to recoveryofchildren.org, that's our website, and it'll give you a lot of information there. If you want to get trained up and get out there and start rescuing children, we have a 6-day course you'll find on recoveryofchildren.com. It's called Fight Child Trafficking and Equipping Course. It's pretty intense, 6 days, but it'll certify you pretty much, at least in our organization, to get out there into this AO and actually go do the right thing and save children.
All right, sounds great. Baz, thanks for everything that you do.
Yeah,
way,
you
that's
too.
As
Thanks
hot
for
as
having
I've
me.
ever seen you get. Like I've never seen you get that hot, which is good because I was hot. I came in hot.
Apologize for that.
You ended it hotter. No, please do not.
It's probably the one. It's just it is probably the one flaw I have when it comes to not being able to restrain my anger for that. When you go through enough time seeing innocent children abused sexually, whatever it may be, after a while, your level of you can't tolerate it any longer. And I think it's righteous anger. And I will tell you this, I definitely know what the heart of God feels like when it comes to these children. And this is why Jesus said, it is better that a millstone be put around a man's neck and him thrown into the water and drown, than ever harm one of these little ones. And so, I don't feel any different than God. I'm not God, but I don't feel any different than him.
There's a few things in my life that I've never discussed. And I was on a podcast with Micah Richardson. He has the Daily Carry podcast. There's a few things about I'm super honest about everything that happens in my life, except for massive trauma when I was younger. I was a kid. I've never spoken of it. And so, yeah, I feel you. I think that's probably what drives me the most is that.
Yeah. Well, pray that we define success as one child at a time. And while we know we cannot save all of them, and while we know that child sex trafficking across the globe will not end until God comes back, in the meantime, we can pray that he keeps his hand on us, that we find as many as we can before we depart this earth, and that we get rid of as many predators and pedophiles as we can. So
one bullet at a time. Or
rope, or whatever. Justice be served.
There's a lot of it. I mean, it's just a wood chipper and a hog farm is actually a really good thing. I might invest in both those things.
Yeah. So anyway, good to see you again, Joe. God bless you too. Thanks, buddy. Out here.
Whew. We're going to take a quick commercial break. It's hailing outside, so I'm going to take a quick break. It's going to be a couple minutes. I'm going to go check some stuff out, but it's always good to have Baz on. He's amazing. And you start seeing the righteous anger that just boils up by recognizing the evil that's basically gaslighting and lying to the people. So give us a few minutes. We'll be right back.
Oh, hi. I almost didn't see you there. Welcome to DCF Buns, where you can find the freshest buns in town, if I do say so myself. Oh, our master bakers teach class every week. So whether you're new to baking or trying to improve your culinary skills, we got you covered. And we can help you bake the cake of your dreams. We'll even clean your cake if you want. And if you don't want to bake anything yourself, we have loads of fresh buns available in a variety of shapes and sizes. Check us out at dcfbuns.com to learn more. DCF Buns, we keep the buns hot and the deals hotter. Buns.
In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
A Canadian political activist was detained and forced into a psych ward this week for trying to expose political overreach. Watch this.
Yeah. Okay. And this is Dr. Emery. He's a resident psychiatrist, senior resident. He's on a rotation with the CAR 87. We're part of a program that includes Vancouver Coastal Health and the Vancouver Police. Okay? And what we do is we go to people when there's different reasons that come up. Every case is a little different, and we go to people to see them where they are, especially if there's been issues with trying to find them and talk to them. So in your case, I think you were certified under the Mental Health Act just, I don't know how long ago, but like maybe 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. Were you aware of that? Dr. Taylor saw you in a cafe. She didn't certify you. I think you filmed part of it. And then she spoke with your family, got some more information, and you know, you're gonna have to turn that off.
So just one sec. What the officer just told me is that you know, you and I can set up a meeting and we can chat then. So why don't we do that, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not turning the camera off. I have a legal right to keep the camera on. If you don't want to make the appointment now, we can do it at another time. But you know, that's what the officer just asked that we do. So why don't we do that?
So I'm going to certify you under the Mental Health Act. We're going to bring you to a hospital, do testing on you, and you're going to talk to a psychiatrist in a controlled environment, because we don't believe that you're going to attend an appointment.
I won't attend. I've never been given a chance to attend an appointment.
So he's certified. He's certified.
Yeah. I've never been given a chance to attend an appointment.
Okay.
What is going on? I was never given a psych eval or nothing. He just looked at me and said, "You're certified."
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know why, but it's up to the doctor. So if you.
But no, he didn't even give me an eval. He just looked at me and said, "I'm certified." Man.
I get that.
Please consider what you're doing, and please think about the fact that I'm more than happy to come in for an appointment. I'm happy to go through and do everything properly. Okay. I've been completely compliant with everything.
Yes, you've been really good with me, Nicholas. But listen, that's his call, and unfortunately, we can't go back on that.
He hasn't talked to me.
Get checked out by a doctor.
You're
Dr. Christine Taylor, who recently just scrubbed all of her social media, certified him as needing to go to a psych ward after a 2-minute interaction at a coffee shop where he was hosting a meet and greet. All of this was done completely against his will and with zero reason other than the fact that a doctor arbitrarily certified him as mentally unstable.
Mentally unstable. That's Canada, which follows the U.S. You know, it's in Canada they can snatch you up. In the U.S. they can snatch you up. I mean, they're building the same web and the same illegal systems. I talk to people up in Canada, and they're like, "Yeah, Joe, our elections are a joke. Anybody can vote. Anyone can vote. There's no transparency at all. Same thing they do here. No transparency. Trust us, bro. Systems are fine. You're not allowed to look at cast vote records. You're not allowed to look under the hood of the elections. Things done by proxy, mail-in ballots, you name it. We'll just do whatever we want." And the outcome is always the same. The outcome is always the same. It always favors this radical leftist environment. It always does. You'd say, well, President Trump got elected because I think it would have been war. Like I was preparing to leave the country in November of 2024. I went as far as to get asylum in other countries in 2024. Ready to say, okay, I gotta go. And we held the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And it took Elon Musk getting involved and stopping just a part of the mechanism. And you don't think they know? You You don't think everyone knows? Man, let me just tell you. Every time we turn around, we have a new conversation with someone who says, "Joe, you can't record me. You can't record me." We have a sitting judge. We have a sitting judge. Currently sitting judge. Who won't come forward now. I mean, will, but says it's not the right time. Deathly afraid of the consequences of telling the truth. A sitting judge. You have two previous judges like, well, if that person's not, then I got to step back for a minute. And you have people that literally say, well, if it was true, then everyone would come forward. Show me where a whistleblower or someone has been treated over the last 30 years, hasn't been treated like a pariah, and the system literally turned against them. You can't find one. You can't find any. There's none. Zero. We had a gentleman on this show who was a whistleblower for the banking institutions, went to prison, got out, and they had to hand him $30 million. He was on the show. He went through it, had to leave the country. You look at what's happening in Canada, and this guy on the side of the road, he's having a conversation with him, just talking to him. Yeah, well, I get it. Yep. Okay. No, well, I'm going to certify you, and I'm going to make sure they can take you into custody so they can put you in a psych ward. Do you think that Canada is any different than the United States? I'm telling you, the same people, history is repeating itself. But you're going to break the spirit of people, and then all of a sudden, in the United States, at least, they're going to snap, and you're going to see something that they are not anticipating. And this is historical, by the way. If you look at historical what's happened over 2,000 years, there has never been a non-snapping moment. They're just hoping they can kill you off. They're hoping they can put a vaccine in you. They can ridicule you. They can use the media apparatus. They can lie and gaslight you and use CIA stooges like Kristen Welker. And they're counting on the fact that there isn't someone coming after President Trump. They needed to neutralize him. The only way they did it is he got his other 4 years. He's advanced in age. Sooner or later, he's going to not be. You think that Don Jr. is going to be a Trump figure? No. There's only one. See, there's not many people that are built that way. I'm built that way. President Trump is built. Other people are built that way. You know, the love of money is never. He's really good at making money. President Trump is. But I would venture to say that his ability to make money, he likes what it can provide. But he likes to freely give it out. People who freely give it out and are as generous as he is in so many different ways don't look at where the dollars are. They look at what the dollars can do in the future, and they know they can make more. It's just how we think. They want to silence everyone. I still come back to that phone call this morning. And he didn't want to have the conversation. He called me up. He wanted to make it short because he knew he was pathetic. Elliot, you're pathetic. You're a pathetic individual, frankly. You're pathetic. Yeah, pathetic. I'm glad you don't take my money. It's money that I can use for some other organization that actually doesn't have a coward running it. But let's talk about who's running for mayor of Carlton, Texas. I want you to listen to this piece of trash down in Texas. Play it.
Believe a guy who hates American veterans, who gave him the freedom to say what you're saying.
No one gave me freedom. My parents are the only people that made sacrifice. No vet has made any sacrifice. I want to make that clear. I do not support the U.S. military. No, I do not support the United States. I look down on both entities. I want to make that clear.
You don't. How do you feel about veterans?
I don't support veterans.
What?
The only vets I support are the ones that take care of cats.
These pieces of shit can come into our country and like talk to us that way and say they don't support vets. He made it clear. He says, I want to make clear, I do not support the U.S. military. I do not support the United States. I look down on both entities. GTFO. GTFO. get out. But we're not allowed to say that. You know, Jake Lang, for all of his foibles, everyone's like, oh, Jake Lang's this, Jake Lang's that. I say to myself, Jake Lang is highly unpopular right now. He was a J6er. He's been arrested, I think, 5 times since he got out. Wears a bulletproof vest, dragged through the streets. Everyone wants to criticize Jake Lang. I've heard he's a Fed. I've heard, even friends of mine are like, Joe, stay away from Jake Lang. I'm thinking to myself, I wouldn't do what he does. I wouldn't talk the way he does. I don't have any, first of all, it's difficult for me to do that because of who I am. But I see the videos of him down in Texas. And I always feel like I have this kindred spirits with poor people, even people that act stupid and think like that white people are the problem. And, you know, I'd walk up to that person because I saw a video of them talking about this guy down there is like, only good cracker is a dead cracker. I would have walked up to that guy and I'd be like, all right, get on with it then. And I would have sat down with him and I would have had a conversation. I would have found out that something happened. There was a defining moment where he got hurt by a white person. And I would have got from that to, all right, let's talk about why you have people that feel the same way on both sides, right? They want to build it. They want to build it based on individual character. But so I'm not built like him. But it's hard to ignore the fact that evil has made us fodder. Like these evil people have made us fodder. Like that guy talking about the fact that he doesn't like the vet. I'm surprised that little midget Pakistani guy can stand in the middle of Texas with all of his teeth. But the police goad it. They like sit in the middle and wait for someone to do something so they can arrest him. The police are there to be, it's an instigated fight. And it's almost as if it's designed to be that way. I mean, otherwise, just let the police out of the way. May the best man win. And let him go at it. Let us go at it. I mean, everyone says that they're on the right side of the deal. Let's just go at it. But nothing's off limits at that point. We got selected leaders. We got election machine. We burn it down because it's not working. It's not fundamentally. We're not in a functioning society right now. We're in a state of consistent and persistent lawlessness. And everyone can see it. A friend of mine that's a private equity guy, he plays in the stock market quite a bit. He said to me, he goes, Joe, I've never in my life seen something like this. And the cards are gonna, sooner or later, it's all gonna fall down. It has to. He goes, because there's no moral index in how even things are traded in the stock market. A moral index. Interesting. Here's one running for Congress in Massachusetts. Let's see this peach.
My name is Beth, and I'm running for Congress in the Massachusetts 6th Congressional District. After Trump was elected, my representative Seth Moulton tried to throw trans kids under the bus for his political career. And that's why I stepped up to challenge him. Trans people aren't political props, and slapping a rainbow on a bomb isn't support. Congress needs to take real action.
I mean, in a normal world, I don't even know what that is. Like, what is that? Is that a Heshemite? And I don't care, actually. But nobody, a trans child is a groomed child. Okay? Period. And I think it's time we rip here's gay people over here. Sorry, look, just like everything else, you have to create such immense controversy and chaos that it's hard to see through it. We all have gay people in our lives, and they're gay. And then we have other people that aren't gay that we come across Instagram videos and we're like, oh, let's send it to them. John, here's this. Take a look at that. That's what you know, the ones where you run up just like, somebody said this to you because you're gay. So we still have these little funny videos that we get all the time that we still throw out. We've done it for 30 years. But nobody cares about people being gay. They don't. The transgender thing is, you know, at least a gay person is like, okay, I'm attracted to the same sex. Okay. But the transgender deal is you'll have a transgender woman who's actually a man that's dating a transgender man that's actually a woman. So it's like a role-playing deal. And so they say that they're gay, but they're with a woman that's a man and a man that's, I can't make it make sense. But it's designed to be so screwed up and so mentally just deranged, and yet they want to send us to an asylum of sorts. That's, and by the way, that is him. See, this is where it does make sense. Voice. But if you think that's bad, watch this.
Top officials like the governor, Tim Walz, and the AG, Keith Ellison, they were aware of the fraud as early as 2020, but they still allowed the payments to go out to the fraudsters. And they say because, according to the report, the reason they did, concerns of potential racial discrimination claims, because many of the defendants are from the Somali immigrant community.
So this is woke gone wrong again. You got people that are committing criminal acts, taking money from taxpayers. Many of these people immigrated to the country. Some of them are not even citizens of the country. And they're using it for fraudulent purposes. And the government knew about it. They didn't do anything about it because they are considered a protected class.
And they attacked the whistleblowers.
Right.
That's part of the report.
Right. So the House Oversight letter to J.D. Vance, this is what they said in that letter. So the committee requests that the White House task force to eliminate fraud thoroughly review all of Minnesota's social services programs in light of the vulnerabilities created by efforts of state officials who, instead of mitigating fraud, actually sought to cover up or minimize reports and findings of fraud. Specifically, the committee's investigation found that senior officials in Minnesota state government, including Governor Walz and Attorney General Ellison, were aware of widespread fraud in federally funded social service programs for years, possessed the legal and procedural authority to stop the payments and ban fraudulent providers, but repeatedly failed to act. As a result, potentially billions of American taxpayer dollars were paid to fraudulent actors.
Yeah, they reportedly have $9 billion, they said, has been stolen on high-risk Medicaid spending.
And do you see how calm they are? Because they don't care. The apathy is unbelievable. Because the system is designed to take from you what was never theirs to take. How many victims? 22-year-old that we had on, whose mom came on to talk about her victim. The victims of the $9 billion that goes through the door, the amount of rampant fraud, the fact that they didn't want to put a stop to it because it might racially discriminate. You know what that means? That means that money's coming back into their pockets. It's fraud. It's a cartel. And here's a story that hasn't got much attention at all. This is Tyson Goodsell. He's a white 17-year-old football player who was executed in cold blood by a gang of Somalis in Mankato, Minnesota, on the 23rd of May, 2026. He was ambushed and shot in the head. He was gunned down execution style in his Hyundai at 11 p.m. after leaving work. His car smashed into a townhome. His mother heard the gunshots from her own house. The main shooter, Abi Kahadar Fahi Mahadin, accomplices Ahmed Food Muhammad, Ahmed Muhammad, and Ryan Wollner also busted. How many more young white boys will get taken from their family before America wakes up? Media blackout, open borders, soft on crime, BS, and diversity flooding white areas. This stops when we stop importing and tolerating it. Deport them all. Shot in the head. Shot in the head. 17 years old. Whole life ahead of him. I actually don't care if it's a black kid or a white kid or a green, purple dinosaur, don't care. At some point, it does have to be about the fact that we shouldn't have a 17-year-old victim of a bunch of illegals. Deport them all of them. Oh, you might get a couple good ones, maybe. They might be super bright and have an IQ over 100, just over. Woo. We're not allowed to tell the truth. And you're talking to a guy that cares deeply about people who are in impoverished communities, deeply. I mean, I do weird stuff when people aren't looking. I was at a gas station. There's a woman sitting in her car. She just had that defeated look on her face. So I walked up and knocked on the window. I said, "Hey, how are you?" Yeah. I go, "You look upset." She goes, "Yeah, nothing's going right." I said, "What do you need? You need a corn dog, hot dog, or gas?" She goes, "I need gas." I was like, "All right, pull up, I'm gonna get you some gas." And I walked over, flipped the thing on. She goes, "How much can I take?" I was like, "I gotta go. So you get what you want. You create a train on me, I'll be really upset." I just walked away. I didn't say anything else. Didn't even take a thank. Didn't even stick around for a thank you. Turns out this is a woman that I said put whatever gas you need on it. She was on E. So what do you think she did? She put $20 in her car. $20. I mean, for those of you that haven't done the math, it's less than 5 gallons. So I flipped the switch, put the thing in, said, "Pump your own gas." She goes, "How much?" And I was like, "Whatever." Well, I guess we make sure your car's not thirsty. I didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking. Then I walked away, and she only put $20 in her car. What color was she? She was Hispanic. I don't care what color you are. If you steal from us, you should have your hands lopped off, frankly. The American people deserve a break. So do the people in other countries, Australia, New Zealand, South American countries. We all deserve a break. The chaos is overwhelming. Every day it's the same fight. And it's caused by stolen elections and really weak people. And if you want to get rid of them, you got to get rid of the stolen elections, which means we're going to make an example out of people that, frankly, are really bad people. And it's coming. Gammy says, "Until we have an accountable DOJ and government, this continues. We are being lied to, including HB1 visas, etc." Yeah, we are. D-Lady says, "DOJ is a crime cartel running a protection racket." Bill Corbett. I agree with you. The lady whose daughter got hit on a motorcycle. Yes, that is true. You know, before this whole run for state chair, before this whole run for governor, before all that stuff, I was like, you know what? I can fix it. I think I can fix President Trump's problem with the lack of evidence. I think I could grill him up so that he could be like, boom, 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 boom. Here's what happened in California. Here's what happened in Florida. Here's what happened in Texas. Here's what happened. Yes, it is true that we had to interfere with what was happening with people that were doing really bad things overseas. Like, I mean, literally, he would just go down the line. And if he started arresting people and forcing the hand of Todd Blanchard, put Peter Tickton in the position as AG, that should happen too, then everything gets better. Everything gets better. Here's my problem. If we don't get to the bottom of accountability and lower that line from no one's above the law to making it so no one's above the law, we're finished. We're finished. But when I ran for those offices, the reason why I did it is I knew I could fix it. I knew I could. I was like, yeah, I can fix that. That's easy. Easy peasy. But now that we're in this place right now where I don't think like the criminal. I can see it, but I don't think like the criminal. And that's the problem with good people. That's the problem with President Trump, is that these people use dog whistles. They call him a child rapist. They call him all sorts of things that aren't true. They aren't true. The media is not just vile. It's disgustingly vile. The Meet the Press, Kristen Welker, the CIA, whatever you want to call her, stooge, she has no idea. Susan, thank you. I am a good man sometimes. And sometimes I just I want to hurt bad people. There will come a time that good people will have to do bad things to bad people. It's coming. And there gets a point where, frankly, you get to the edge of your seat. And I've talked to enough people that feel that way. It's happening. All right. Let's check her out. All right. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. We're on all those, and Roku. We got a lot going on. We got some things happening. Just stay patient. Trying to figure out how we can redo the set, make it more fun. Yeah, and make sure we can break more of the back of the devil as far as how they censor us, because we're censored on. Rumble put us under what's called it's a second tier deal where it's almost impossible to find us. It's like shadow banning you in real life up front. So if you've been there before, you can get there. You just can't find it if you didn't. And then they're doing other things like stripping us of people that follow the page. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane what Rumble's doing. With that said, share us, follow us, do all those things. I got to see Dave Bear today. He's hanging in there, doing the best he can. So let's pray it out. Father God, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to have eternal life. So even as this life is just, it's a lot. There's just so much more peace to come from our next life. And so I just ask you, Father, that that you forgive us as we sometimes say things out of frustration and we just don't know where to go sometimes. And we talk about the benefits of being able to strip away all the veils and be able to see evil for what it is. And I think we're there. But now as we see it, we're just like, that's unbelievable. And yet it's not. Father, I would just ask that you give us the strength to continue to fight. Please bless Baz as he works with finding abused women and children. Help us, Father, that we may collectively do enough that we can solve some of these societal problems that we have by just digging into them. Father, I just ask you to bless President Trump and put a veil over him to protect him fully, not just from the people on the outside, but people on the inside that would do harm to him. Help us, Father, that we may stay committed and focused on mission, which is restoration. And although we can see all the things that happened in our past and how it correlates to how bad it is currently in our country and countries around the world, we know that through you, anything is possible. So, Father, please give us the tools, equip us with the pathway that we can deliver our people, your people, from this evil that's trying to consume every part of our society. I ask these things, Father, humbly, in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right. I'll see you guys later. Same time, same station tomorrow. All right. God bless you.
rise up untamed. In the heart of the fight where the wild ones roam, Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the nights. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real, no more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Tame nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave